Hello, YouTubers. This is the Anonymous Reality TV blogger. Hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Today, more details emerge of the Florita and Korey cheating scandal because that is what it is, allegedly. That's what it is. In the event that you say that you're exclusive with somebody and somebody steps out, whether they kiss someone else that they're not exclusive with, whether they have sex with someone else they're not exclusive with, whether they quote unquote hook up with somebody else that they're not exclusive with, that is called cheating. No matter how you want to slice it or dice it, that is called cheating. We have to stop, and we need to take this into 2022 for some New Year's resolutions for people who are dating or in relationships or whatever. We need to stop diminishing what your actual status is in these relationships to make other people feel better, to make other people who are guilty, who did do some type of cheating, feel better about themselves or protect their reputation or try to make the other woman feel good so that she can still be around everybody because everybody, quote unquote, in the season 3 cast is allegedly friends, but this is not the type of behavior that friends do, hooking up with multiple men in the cast that you're allegedly friends with. Because if you'll recall, this isn't Florita's first time doing this. She did this previously with Bailey and Jeremy. And now she's doing it again with Korey and Olivia. So I say all that to say that, when the cover-up is worse than the crime, more details always unfold as we get closer and closer to the entire truth of it all. And as Olivia recently just did an interview the other day with some more dates, some more puzzle pieces are filling in as more people are trying to connect the dots. So with that being said, essentially the weekend before the Atlantic City trip was when Korey went to Miami, and allegedly sometime that weekend, him and Florita linked up and hooked up. We do not know the extent. Some people are saying that they kissed. Some islanders are saying that they slept together. I don't think we're ever going to get the full truth because, again, I think this cast, for whatever reason, prioritizes certain people that they want to protect because they, quote unquote, either like them better or are better friends with them. So therefore, a lot of their behavior, even if it's wrong, seems to be excused. And I think that is just unacceptable. I think we have to hold people accountable because if you don't hold people accountable, it's going to happen again, which is why Florita was so comfortable to do this again with Korey that she previously did with Jeremy. Meanwhile, Bailey and Olivia are thinking, that they're in it with these people. And here comes Florita sliding in, doing her dirt. Like, it's not okay. And it's not okay for the male in these situations either to indulge and disrespect the female that they're supposedly supposed to be with and they're supposedly supposed to be committed to. That's not okay either. So anyways, after this hookup happens, and I recall, in my previous video, I had alluded to that there were some fans on TikTok that had spotted them in Miami over the weekend, Florita and Korey. However, Florita and Korey never posted anything on any of their social medias, trying to keep everything under wraps of whatever they were doing. And then that following Monday, Florita did a Q&A basically alluding to, something went down with her and Korey and things went really well and all this and that. And the following day was when the news broke that Florita and Jeremy unfollowed each other. So the assumption allegedly would be that, there might have been some bad blood, that Florita might have revealed to Jeremy that something happened with Korey. And as a result of that, they just decided to cut ties altogether and not deal with each other. And it is what it is. So that following weekend was the Atlantic City trip. So, that is when everybody is coming in and this and that. And that is when also, if you guys recall, in the weekend, Friday and Saturday was when we had like the weird Instagram lives that were taking place. So Also, if you guys remember, Shannon had alluded to in her Instagram live that something inappropriate had happened. Florita was messy in the comments in my previous video, basically saying that Charlie tried to kiss Olivia in Atlantic City as a way to deflect from her own dirt. So that is essentially the same day that Charlie had posted the picture from a fan page on Instagram that was shipping him and Olivia. And basically that was the same day that he attempted to kiss Olivia. Also, during this weekend, it looked as though Jeremy and Korey really were not talking that much. It seemed to be that essentially Charlie and Jeremy were like the best of buds, were thick as thieves that whole weekend and hanging out all the time. And so essentially they were then commiserating. And I think at that point, that's when Jeremy probably confided into Korey, or not Korey, confided into Charlie what actually took place over the weekend with Florita and Korey the previous week. And then that was when Charlie was making the comments to Jeremy that the body language looked inappropriate between Florita and Korey during this Atlantic City trip, that something looked very sus. So ironically, coincidentally, the same weekend, Florita is all up in Olivia's face, acting like they're best friends, this and that, and, doing the most. I think Charlie was really upset about the news because allegedly it was confirmed that Charlie then relayed the information to Trina in terms of what happened. So next thing is, after Charlie leaves the following day, on that Saturday, that's when Korey seems to be all over Olivia and, trying to post a bunch of footage with her and this and that. And things seem to be okay for appearances, but there was like a weird Instagram live, if you guys recall, where multiple times Olivia was trying to kiss Korey and he kept rejecting her. And then later in the live was when she tried to attempt again, and they were like walking around in what looked like a casino, and Korey kind of ditched her and said that they would make some type of an announcement soon. But at that point, when he had ditched her, there was like Florita, and he went to go like catch up with her. So it's just very sketch behavior. And then Korey's still trying to act, flirty and things with Olivia and all of that. But then there was more drama after the trip, because essentially sometime after that was when Charlie and Korey had a conversation, because, he wanted to know what was going on and that he was going to tell Olivia because he didn't like, what was happening. And so essentially Korey heard what Charlie had to say and I guess relayed whatever Charlie said to Florita, and Florita and Korey both unfollowed Charlie after that. Or blocked him, we don't know. So then the following day is when, Trina had called Olivia to tell her what she had heard, what went down between Korey and Florita when Korey was in Miami. And so, and of course, since Trina heard it from Charlie, Olivia wanted to get everybody on the call on three-way to confirm what actually happened, what actually took place. And so at that point, Charlie confirmed everything that Trina had said. However, although Jeremy directly is the source that originated everything that was told to Charlie that was then told to Trina, we do not know if anything was embellished or was exaggerated on Jeremy's part. Simply, Charlie is repeating what he was told by Jeremy. And that's what he told to Trina. So we have like a little game of telephone, and he said, she said going on. So whatever version Jeremy told Charlie is the version that Charlie told everybody else. So then from there, that was when we started to see like some weird behavior where they were liking Korey and Olivia were, doing some shady mess on social media, of course. And this and that were kind of sketch. And so at that point, I think once Olivia got confirmation that something inappropriate did happen with Florita and Korey in Miami, she then went to have a conversation with Korey. I'm assuming FaceTime, since Olivia is in Arizona and Korey is in Virginia. And so they must have confronted each other around Thanksgiving or what have you, because then that's when the breakup posts happened out of nowhere, that Olivia was blindsided about. And so I say all this to say, Korey and Olivia, apparently they still love each other. Apparently Korey is like really buttering up Olivia. He was all over, her interview with S'more Date, is still trying to like all of her content, is still trying to call and FaceTime with her every day. And I don't know if this is just to stay in her good graces so that nobody attacks Korey on social media, or if this is genuine and he genuinely wants to try to get back together with Olivia. So that is up for debate, and it remains to be seen, because Olivia keeps reiterating how much she and Korey love each other and still FaceTime each other every day. But here's the thing. In the event that you are saying you are exclusive and somebody is doing something inappropriate with another person that is not you, that is cheating. It doesn't matter how you want to slice it. So my thoughts on that essentially is, Florita has a pattern. This is not a one-time deal or anything. If you do something more than once, it's a pattern. It's a habit. And if you guys will recall, a few months back when they had the first world tour stop, quote unquote, the cast, in New York City, Florita, like I told you, was supposed to room with one of the other islanders. I want to say it's Trina, but I can't confirm. I want to confirm that before just saying that. So allegedly she was supposed to room with one of the season 3 islanders at the hotel. And Florita ended up changing her itinerary to fly out to New York City a few days earlier to link up with Jeremy, and ended up staying with Jeremy at his apartment the entire weekend. And, adjusted her trip. And then next thing you know, her and Jeremy are flying back and forth to NYC and to Miami to see each other. And they kept posting like weird stories where they were both at the same restaurant, both at the same, locations, but never showed each other's faces. But you could surmise that they were basically there together. So, and if you will recall, the reason that this was messy is because Bailey had confirmed that her and Jeremy did break up shortly after the show. However, since the New York trip was coming up, her and Jeremy were talking, and the plan was supposed to be that Bailey and Jeremy were supposed to spend time together in New York while she was there to see if they could, start back up their relationship, work on whatever the issues were, and go from there. But Bailey never had that opportunity because Florita slid in a few days earlier to do whatever she did with Jeremy, which left Bailey outside of all of that. So that conversation never happened for them to potentially get things back on track. And then here's another instance where Olivia thinks that, her and Korey are exclusive, whatever, they are defining or not defining, they've at least defined that they were exclusive. So therefore, if you're stepping out with somebody else and you're supposed to be exclusive, then Olivia has every right to dump Korey because he cheated. That's cheating. And so the whole semantics of Florita saying that she didn't cheat, well, you're not in the relationship, so therefore you aren't the cheater. However, you are a part of the cheating that took place, which is messy. So it's just very, It's just very unfortunate. And again, all of this is alleged, but pretty much as more of the Islanders, like Olivia, like Shannon, have been doing in these interviews and in the comments, you can kind of piece things together. You can piece the timelines together and everything else. And it's just messy and it's very sketchy behavior on both Florita and Korey's part. Florita and Korey need to be held accountable. You know, Florita does not need to be a part of any further group events, any quote unquote world tour dates. And if people bring their boyfriend and bring their man and rumor comes out that something happened with Florita, I don't want to hear it. Because you've had two examples on two separate events leading up to these cast trips where Florita has decided she's going to indulge with one of the male Islanders, and it's not okay. That is not a friend that you need to be having around the group. And for Olivia and Shannon to keep diminishing this and not call it cheating and saying, you know, that Florita and Korey had a moment or they might have just only kissed, even though the rumors are they actually slept together. You know, it's not okay. It's not okay to diminish something that is wrong. And I feel like this is why the group needs to, you know, take a break from each other, because something messy always happens on all of these trips. There is always something messy, and it always involves one of the couples that are still quote unquote together or taking a break or whatever they want to call it, or exclusive but not boyfriend and girlfriend. Like it just, there's always some drama. There's drama, you know, on the New York trip regarding this whole debacle with Florita, Jeremy, and Bailey. There was drama on the LA trip involving, you know, that was the drama with the Cinco Cash and Amy situation. Drama Atlantic City with Korey, Olivia, and you know, Jeremy and Charlie. Like it's just too much. It is too much weird stuff that's going down. And it's messy. And the fact that there are certain people in the cast who want to protect Florita because they like her or they like hanging out with her or they like partying with her, like that's not okay. Wrong is wrong. You have to hold people accountable. And I'm sure if, you know, they were so protective of this, trying to keep this under wraps, trying to keep the details of this under wraps, I'm sure there's worse things that they're keeping under wraps because they don't want, you know, to hurt anybody's feelings or hurt anybody's image. But wrong is wrong. If somebody's being messy or inappropriate in the group, it needs to be handled. It needs to be called out. And then to have somebody still be around that is exhibiting this toxic and inappropriate behavior is now setting, you know, an uncomfortable vibe amongst the group, is creating unnecessary tension, unnecessary division, unnecessary preferences of who likes who in the group. Like it's just, it has a domino effect of the group dynamics moving forward. Because if you'll recall on Shannon's Live, Olivia said she wasn't comfortable going to the next quote unquote tour date in Miami because, you know, not only Korey was going to be going, but Florita lives there. That's her home base. So obviously she's going to be the one that's going to be planning a lot of the events, planning where the different parties are going to be, planning, you know, potential Airbnbs that people are going to be staying at and the cast. Like all of that's her, you know, home base. That's where her and Giovanni are located. That's their headquarters. So, you know, for Olivia to just find out somebody who she thought was her friend is hooking up with somebody who she had deemed she was exclusive with, and then to then go on another trip and basically see them interacting in her face is not okay. It's just not okay behavior. And then for Florita to act like her and Olivia were like BFFs in Atlantic City after what she did in Miami with Korey is just next level. It's just next level. Because that is not a friend of mine. You are not about to be kissing and hooking up with my man and then you're all in my face. Like, like nothing happened, like we're best friends. Like, that's not okay. That is not acceptable behavior. That's not how people, should be acting. But like I said, if this cast was smart, they would not involve Florita in any more trips, because this is just too messy. This is just too much drama. And, one of their men could be next. She could try to make a play for Cinco or try to make a play for Josh on the next trip. It's not like it's not likely. It's not impossible. She already did this with Jeremy, and she already did this with Korey. So who's to say what Florita's boundary is? And then she recently started following Will again. And as you know, Will and Kyra recently broke up. So again, it's very inappropriate behavior. And, if these Islanders are not going to hold each other accountable, other people are going to, and it's going to get messy. Because what's going to happen is, if people are going to pick and choose who they want to protect in this group, it's going to cause some people to feel alienated, to feel like they're not really their friend, they're being fake, or they're being two-faced, or they only want to protect certain people. And then eventually everybody's tea is going to be spilled, because it's going to affect the overall dynamics of the group. Everybody's, drama, everybody's messiness, everybody's catty behavior, all of that's going to come out the more you try to protect and cover up toxic people. And props to Trina and Charlie for doing what Florita and Korey could not do. And that was tell the truth. And that was give their friends the heads up on what's happening. Because if you're exclusively with somebody, Korey, the first person you tell if you messed up, you tell the person you're exclusive with. Florita, newsflash, if you're friends with Olivia, why didn't you have the decency to tell her? Why did you tell Jeremy first? Were you still with Jeremy at that point? Did you cheat on Jeremy? Or were you and Jeremy taking a break and then you hooked up with Korey and then you called Jeremy back and Jeremy didn't like that conversation and decided to just be done with you? Because it's messy all the way around. It is very messy all the way around. But this thing where we're just not going to hold people accountable, or we're going to try to diminish certain people's wrongdoings in the group, especially if they're a fan favorite or if they're liked amongst the group or whatever, like, that's not okay. Just because you like to party with Florita doesn't mean that her tea and her wrongdoings can be swept under the rug. That's not how this works. Like I said, the cover-up is worse than the crime, and the more that comes out, the more this looks bad for Korey and Florita, going so hard in the paint trying to diminish what happened. And even Shannon, to an extent, diminishing what happened. Shannon does not need to spill anybody else's tea. That's fine if she wants to go on live and talk about her and Josh or answer some fan questions, but she does not need to spill anybody else in the cast tea, because this went from nothing happening to blaming Charlie for everything, to Florita denying anything that happened and Korey denying anything that happened, to Olivia basically coming back to confirm that something did happen. And that certain people in the cast were trying to cover it up because they were friends with Florita and wanted to protect her and wanted to protect her reputation and still wanted her to be around the cast for future trips. And that's just not okay. That's not acceptable. Because now you have fractures in the group. You have fractures in the group. And I don't know about you, but I would want my friends to tell me if my alleged boyfriend, my alleged person I'm exclusive with, my alleged person I'm committed with is doing something foul behind my back. Especially with somebody else that's in the same friend group. Like, this is so messy. This is so crazy. And I apologize that this is a little bit long, but I wanted to get everything out in terms of what the latest updates that we have regarding some of the different timeline of events. So you can kind of see how everything kind of blew up and, where we're at right now, which is a lot of awkwardness, apparently. And this isn't over because Olivia is doing, she did another interview with the new podcast she's co-hosting yesterday. So that is supposed to come out allegedly tomorrow. So we're going to find out even more details about what happened with this Korey situation. So stay tuned because this is not over by a long shot, but it just goes to show that this cast is messy. This cast is messy. They can put up this united front all they want to for social media. They can do all of the Instagram lives that they want to and pretend that everybody is one big happy family. But all of this behind the scenes drama eventually comes out. And that's what keeps happening. This cast is the gift that keeps on giving because there's always messiness that's going on. And somebody needs to do the tell-all book or do the tell-all interview or something. Because if this is the one thing they're trying to cover up, what is the worst thing that hasn't got out yet about this cast? What is something worse that somebody else hasn't done? Right? That's what I want to know. And I can't wait for that. Because there was already some messiness going on in Atlantic City where people were trying to dictate who, had to sit in separate limos. And if you're a family, why are you separating the limo? Who can sit in which limo? And I think Ellie said that, one of the Islanders made her cry. Like, it's just too much. Like, it's just too much messiness and catty behavior. And people, thinking that they're running things on these trips. It's just not okay. And then certain people being protective, either because they're scared of their fan base or they're scared of the backlash or whatever. But you're making your reputation look worse by protecting somebody who's doing wrong. How is that okay? Because eventually it's going to come out, just like this Florita thing keeps coming out because she keeps being messy. So that is the latest update that I have on the Korey and Florita cheating scandal. And even with all of this madness, Olivia is still optimistic that they could potentially get back together because, quote unquote, they weren't defined at the time that Korey and Florita allegedly hooked up, even though they were confirmed to still be exclusive, even if they, quote unquote, were taking a step back. So how is that for you? How is that for, the latest and all of this craziness? So I say all that to say, let me know your thoughts. Is this cheating with Florita and Korey? Are they cheating? Why are certain people in the cast trying to cover up cheating? What is going on? Do you think, even after all of this, that Korey and Olivia are going to get back together? What do you guys think? Do you think, since the Miami trip allegedly is happening in January, do you think that, everything's going to be fine and dandy with the group in January, including Florita, because Miami is her stomping grounds. That's her home base. What do you guys think? So that is all that I have on the latest cheating saga of Florita and Korey. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please share your thoughts on what you guys think of these messy Islanders of season 3 that are the gift that keeps on giving. And I will talk to you guys very soon.